Welcome to Whimsy-Woven Stories, where imagination takes flight and every tale is a journey into wonder. Here, we breathe life into the pages of timeless stories and create new adventures that spark joy and curiosity. Whether you're a lover of classic fairy tales, fantastical adventures, or heartwarming fables, you'll find a story to capture your heart and stir your imagination. Join us as we weave a tapestry of whimsy and wonder, one story at a time.
The red flags were popping up, and I felt surrounded, my spidey sense tingling with the realization that the woman I loved was veiling her heart from me. My wife's strange behavior, her newfound friendship with Marie Duval, whispered tales of betrayal into the night. As I navigated the stormy seas of our marriage, every attempt to anchor us back to shore left me more adrift. I seem to be a schmuck, damned if I do and damned if I don't, became my silent refrain. This is my journey into the heart of deception. Dear listeners, enjoy listening it. I uncovered my wife's cheating. I needed to probe further and delve deeper, but she had no idea I was on the hunt. Okay, let us begin the story and explore the ramifications of adultery. I'm Henry McAllister, also known as Hank. My father named me after his favorite ball player, Henry Aaron. My father John was a surgeon, and my mother Karen had been an orange for many years. I've been married to Mallory for 12 years, and we have a 9-year-old son named Bobby and a daughter. Gina is 8 years old. I am a physician with my own family medicine practice. My practice currently has over 150 patients and is still increasing. In fact, I hired a couple of doctors, a nurse, 2 medical technicians, an office manager, and a receptionist to address the needs of our community. I'm 39 years old. I exercise regularly and eat well so I can run competitive times in 5 key races, which I do numerous times a year. Mallory is 34 years old and 120 pounds. She has long sandy blonde hair and deep blue eyes. Despite having 2 children, she has managed to maintain her body thanks to Zumba twice each week. We met at a sorority gathering when I was in my 2nd year of medical school, and she was a sophomore pursuing her bachelor's degree in marketing. Her parents are Gunnar and Helga Hallstrom. My parents, Dr. John and Emma Kennedy McAllister, were killed when their little plane crashed while performing missionary work in Peru. After college, she landed a job with Kenner and Associates, and her hours are strictly 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I am a board-certified surgeon, but I left the operating room to pursue a private practice so that we could raise a family. Instead of being on call and working unexpected and sometimes ridiculous hours, which is the reality of being a surgeon, my father spent the most of his time rescuing lives while I was growing up. He missed several important events in my life, including my high school graduation and a rehearsal supper for our wedding. I did not want to raise my children as an absentee parent. I have privileges at the local hospital, so I take a few days each year to do surgery on patients who require it in order to maintain my abilities. I also keep up with the newest news from peers and medical journals. As a result, I'm able to coach my son's little league team and assist my wife with our kids. Girl Scout patrols meet at our house. We eat dinner together every night, and I believe we had a very wonderful and happy life update. That is till today. This is what I call her. I met Marie Duval, who joined her firm 3 months ago. After 2 weeks, Mal was gushing about her new buddy and how interesting she was in Cosmopolitan. They started eating lunch together every day. My practice keeps me busy, so I rarely have time to see my wife for lunch. However, I had taken the day off to conduct some minor surgery on a couple of my patients early in the morning, and I completed earlier than expected since one of the patients became ill with a fever, preventing me from operating safely, so the operation was canceled. Since I had already scheduled the day off at work, I decided to surprise my wife by taking her out to lunch and possibly meeting the charming Mrs. Duval. I arrived at my wife's office 15 minutes before lunchtime and asked her secretary Beth if Mallory was available. Beth responded, "She's on a call, but it should be over in a few minutes." I said, "Thank you, Beth. Nice to see you again." I took a seat and waited for Mal to complete her call. Beth announced around 10 minutes later that her call had ended and that she would be out for lunch shortly. I said, "Is she free? I know she occasionally has lunch with clients." Beth examined her appointment book and said she had nothing scheduled. She typically has lunch with Mrs. Duval, but I am confident she will cancel for the gorgeous doctor. I responded, great. I had a rare day off and decided to surprise her by taking her out to lunch. Beth said, Dr. McAllister, you can go in now. So I opened the door to her office and said, hello, babe. Surprise, I've come to take my beautiful wife to lunch. Mal's eyes were instantly wide open, like a deer caught in the headlights, blinded and unsure what to do. She seemed offended and resentful of my unexpected intrusion. Hank, what are you doing here? I thought you had surgery today. Mal expressed her anger through the tone of her voice. I said, rather deflated, I had to postpone my second surgery owing to a mild temperature. I had planned to take the entire day off and thought I'd surprise my wife by taking her out to lunch. Mal responded, you caught me off guard. I told you I eat lunch with Marie Duval every day. Now I'll have to cancel at the last minute. And that is quite rude. I asked, why not have her join us? It would give me an opportunity to meet your acquaintance. Mal appeared to be at a loss for words and was trying to come up with something to say. She finished moving her eyes to the side and remarked, that won't work because we're meeting with clients. Mal scrambled and immediately added, I guess she can handle it, but I hate leaving her waiting on such little notice. She gave an audible sigh and remarked with disdain, I'll just call and cancel. I had asked Beth and she said she was free. Mallory has lied to me. I was wondering, what the fuck is going on? I caught the hint and it wasn't as subtle as she thought it was. In fact, it struck me like a freight train. She'd rather have lunch with her friend than with me, even though occasions to have lunch together are as uncommon as a blue moon. Also, it appears that I am not accepted in their beloved inner circle. Both troubled me more than I admit. I told her, no, I got it. Coming here unexpectedly is disrespectful and obnoxious. Keep your lunch date. I will see you later. I swung around and rushed out the door as she yelled, Hank, please wait. It isn't like that. Please come back. I dashed down the hallway and up the stairs so she couldn't grab me before I left the building. I was driving out of the parking lot by the time she got off the elevator. As I drove away, I was fuming and yelled, duck her and her friend too. I chose to be a stereotypical doctor and went to the club for lunch and a game of golf. I felt compelled to hit something hard. I got lucky and was able to join forces with some other doctors who play every Wednesday. Their normal fourth was summoned for an emergency. Shapiro was a neurologist whom I recommended patients to when they required a specialist. He saw me at the bar and asked, hello, Hank, what are you doing here? I've never seen you in the club during business hours. During a rare day off, I informed him of my canceled surgery. He stated he expected you to spend the opportunity to take your attractive wife out to lunch rather than hanging out here. You're one lucky man. You have a stunning wife. I told him how I attempted, but I interfered because I caught her off surprise during a client meeting, etc. So I joined him. Simon and Alex Simmons will then meet for lunch and golf. I had a nice round. We were playing for $1.50 each hole. I won 11 of 18 and beat Ben and Alex for $1.50 each, and they were shocked by my drives because I had never hit a ball so far in my life. I didn't leave the club until 6 p.m., and I knew Mallory would be furious. I allowed my emotions to get the best of me, and this would alter in the future. But I was lied to, and something is wrong with this situation at work, so I vowed to investigate. Update 1. First, I had to pay the price for today, and I'll probably receive the cold shoulder for a week before this is all done. I pulled into the garage and entered. Mallory was preparing supper for the kids. I greeted everyone and hugged Gina and Bobby. I went to kiss Mallory's cheek, but she turned away. So I sat down. The youngsters were talking about their day as usual. There was quiet between us. At 9 p.m., I put the kids to bed after an evening of homework checking, snack preparation, and watching television. I went back down to the room. Mal had turned off the television, and I knew she was about to talk, yell, or anything. Mel asked, Hank, why did you take off like that? It was very childish. I told you I'd cancel our lunch date. I responded, what do you mean take off like that? You told me it was a business lunch, and I didn't want to interfere with your career. I took off so that you would not deactivate my account. I could tell you were upset and surprised when I showed up unexpectedly. So I decided to go to the club for lunch, and Shapiro needed someone to complete their foursome. So I went golfing and had a drink afterwards, before I arrived home. I did not believe I was being childish. I thought I was making things simpler for you. I could not help myself. I also mentioned that you were angry. I showed up, and you are upset that I left. I appear to be a schmuck. I'm torn between doing something and not doing something. Mallory paused for a time before saying, "Hank, you are not a schmuck. You're correct." I was caught off guard rushing late from my lunch meeting, and Marie was already there with the customers. I should have handled it better, but I was stressed out dealing with another client's problem right before you arrived, and landing those other clients is a solid priority. Despite the fact that she had several hours to prepare, her explanation appeared rehearsed. I wasn't ready to admit that I'd cut her in a lie. I needed to look into the situation more, and I didn't want her to know I was on the case. I asked, "Are we good now? Is there something wrong? Is there something I'm missing that I should be doing?" She responded with a look of remorse and anxiety on her face. "Oh no, baby, everything's fine. You are the best husband a girl could have. I love you, Hank. It appears that we had a misunderstanding, that is all. Even if it is not truly a fight. How about some makeup sex? Come on, baby, let me show you how much I adore you." I followed her up to the bedroom and closed the door. Dawn, we lie on the bed in silence for a few minutes. Mel finally rolled toward me and exclaimed, "That was mind-blowing. I need to take a shower." I responded, "Yes, babe." Then she inquired, "Did you enjoy it, baby?" I told her you were a tiger tonight. For a brief period, I noticed a disappointed expression on her face. She stepped out to take a shower. After that, I finished showering. She was already in bed, sleeping or pretending to sleep. I was unsure. I went straight to sleep. I awakened and rose early since I needed to get to the office and catch up on my patient notes. I missed yesterday. I poured a cup of coffee and put it in a travel mug, then toasted a bagel and spread hazelnut cream cheese on it. I got my briefcase and breakfast and went out to the garage. I opened the door and backed away. As I drove, I began to reflect about the events of the previous night. Mallory was very out of character. In our 14 years together, she has never been as harsh or disrespectful of our affection. And for the first time in my life, I did not sense the connection, the union of body and soul that a husband and wife should have. I was there, but at the end of our relationship, it appeared that Mal was just going along to entertain me. Red flags appeared and I felt surrounded. My spidey sense was tingling as I realized that my wife's unusual conduct was related to her relationship with Marie Duval. I felt I needed to seek assistance in determining what was wrong with my wife and getting to the bottom of this as soon as possible. I couldn't get over the feeling that she was slipping away from me. I had to compartmentalize my personal life for a few hours since I had patients who needed me to concentrate on their health and well-being. I had a regular day, busy but uninteresting, which is ideal for a doctor. After seeing my final patient, I called another of my patients, Andy McPherson. Andy is a private detective. I heard a hello over the phone and said, "Hello, Andy," the voice replied. "Let me get my father." "Who is calling, please?" I informed him that this is Dr. McAllister. A minute elapsed before I heard a voice say, "Hello, Doc, this is Andy." "Is anything wrong?" I could sense the fear in his voice, and I remembered that his wife had just visited the office on Tuesday, so I responded fast. "No, Andy, I'm sorry for worrying you. I just checked Nancy's chart and everything is okay. There's nothing to worry about." I heard him let out a long sigh before saying, "Phew, that is excellent news. Did you just call to tell us?" I responded, "No, Andy, sorry, it's a business concern, and I'm wondering whether you have time to meet me tomorrow at 10 p.m. at Trudy's Cafe on Route 11. Andy responded, "That's a little out of the way," I said. "Yes, I apologize. It's just that I don't want anyone to find out that I'm being investigated." Andy responded, "I understand. Could you tell me a little about it?" I responded, "I would rather not discuss it over the phone." "Sorry for leaving you hanging," Andy said. "That's okay, document. When Megan needed surgery, and I was low on cash, she forgiven my share of the bill and convinced the hospital to offer me a reasonable payment plan. You helped me keep food on the table and avoid bankruptcy. I responded, I was pleased to do that. Andy, I'll let you go back to the family, and I'll see you tomorrow at 10. Andy responded, I will be there. Document goodbye. After he hung up, I called my partners and told them I needed a day off to prepare a surprise for my wife, but to keep it quiet since I didn't want her to find out I was playing hooky and make her suspicious. I was ready for my appointment with Andy tomorrow, so I finished up, locked the door on my way out, and went home. Update 2. I got to Trudy's 15 minutes early and ordered some eggs, bread, coffee, and orange juice. Andy came just as I was putting my order, so I asked, do you want some breakfast? Andy responded, just coffee. The server went to place my order and returned with 2 mugs and a pot of coffee, which she filled before moving on to refresh her other customers' cups. Andy asked, Doctor, why are we here? I began first. Andy, and thank you for meeting me. I am in need of your services. I began telling him about the incidents that had occurred thus far. The server brought me a dish and juice. Another server refreshed our coffee. I hastily ate my breakfast. They definitely prepare a terrific breakfast here. I asked Andy to do 2 things for me. First, I need you to do a thorough investigation of Marie Duval. I want to learn everything I can about this woman who appears to have such a strong influence over my wife. Second, I need someone to observe these lunch meetings. I need to know what they're talking about and who, if anyone, they're having lunch with. And he stared at me, surprised and compassionate. He said, Oh, Doc, I'll get you what you asked. I have folks who specialize in this form of covert surveillance. I asked Andy, what are your rates? He stated, normally I receive $1.500 retainer and $1.100 per hour plus expenses for each investigator I have in the field. I simply need 1 person for this job. However, Doc, this is done for free. I was overwhelmed that he thought so highly of my charity. I replied, Andy, that money is not an issue. I can get you the money today, or pay the fee, and then treat you and your family free gratis for a year. It is worth that much to me. I need to know you have a family to support and I can afford it. Either option is fine to me. Andy responded, okay, give me the $500 whenever you can. Your credit is fine with me. I'll choose for medical care. It will be extremely beneficial to me because I am still paying the hospital and will continue to do so for some time. Andy excused himself for a moment and returned with 2 little devices. He stated that the first is a remote-controlled micro-recorder and the second is a GPS tracker. Put the GPS in her car where she can't locate it and conceal the little digital recorder in her handbag. I replied, no problem. He said we'll use these to follow her whereabouts and what she says when she meets with any of the people concerned. He explained that the recorder has a tiny SD card that needs to be changed every 4 or 5 days. I replied, no problem. I'm glad you could do it. He said, Doc, thank you for the business. I will get back to you as soon as I get something. 1 more condition. I was confused and said, what is it? Andy responded, you got to buy me breakfast. It smells great in here and yours got me hungry. I replied, no problem. Whatever you want. I don't care if you order the entire menu. I waited for him to place his order before throwing a 50 down on the table. This artwork will cover it. Enjoy. I stopped Marley, our server, and gave her another 50 as a tip, telling her to take good care of my friend. I shocked her with such a hefty tip, and she shyly said, thanks, document. I most certainly will. Please return shortly. I had further visits with my accountant and bank. Now all I can do is wait for Andy's report. I can't ignore the sensation that trouble is on the horizon. We plan to go this weekend and take the kids to the water park. Bobby and Gina had been looking forward to it all summer, and their anticipation rose with each day. On Wednesday, I received the much-anticipated call from Andy. I had him phone me at work because it would not be suspicious for a patient to call, especially because I had performed some blood tests on his wife, Nancy, and he had her authorization to receive medical treatment information in accordance with HIPAA standards. Alice's phone beeped. My receptionist started buzzing me on the exam room phone. I picked it, and she said, "Dr. Hank, you have an online call to Andy McPherson." I said, "Thank you, Alice." Fortunately, I just finished with Mrs. Carlucci. I excused myself, stating that I had another patient waiting. I dashed inside my office, grabbed up the blinking phone line, and said, "Hello, Andy." He replied, "Hello, Doc, I have received the information you requested. When and where would you like to meet?" I asked, "Can you get to my office around 5 p.m.?" He responded, "No problem." I told him I'd just schedule an emergency appointment and explain you had a problem with your wrist and needed it checked. We shut at 5, so I'll send the workers home and have time to speak with you privately. I do this occasionally with patients so that no one finds it strange or peculiar. I'll have Alice phone my wife and let her know I'll be late. He said, "I'll call her when we're done to let her know I'm on my own. See you at 5, document goodbye." I said goodbye, Andy. I hung up and strolled out to Alice's desk, saying Andy McPherson needs to see me today. He has a wrist problem and needs it checked out. He's out of town on business and will not be able to arrive until 5 p.m. Please schedule him at 5 p.m. appointment and call Mallory to let her know I have a late appointment and will call before I leave. She said, "Not an issue. Dr. Hank, do you need Julie or Marcus to stay overnight? They are my medical technicians." I responded, "No, simply tell them to go home. I can handle it. Not an issue. I need to get back. Tommy Sanderson is waiting for exam 3. As I was driving back, I was relieved that all I had planned for the rest of the day was sports physicals because I was distracted with my meeting with Andy. Update 3. 4:45 p.m. I was just wrapping up my last sports physical with Jenny Desmond when I noticed Andy into the waiting area. I brought Jenny to the checkout desk, instructed Alice to give me about 10 minutes, and then put Andy in exam 1. I wished Lorna and David, my other doctors, a good night, as well as Alice, Joanne, my open, and Michelle, my RN/PI, then entered exam 1 to examine Andy while the staff filed out and locked the doors. I made sure everyone had left and then moved our meeting to my office. I kept a bottle of Jim Beam Black in the office and asked, "Care for a drink?" Andy replied, "I'll have mine with a touch of water." I poured 2 fingers of a lovely amber liquid into 2 rock glasses, then added a splash of water to Andy's. "You preferred mine?" Neat. Andy took a sip and then opened his briefcase, handing me a manila envelope. He said, "Doc, here's what I came up with. Maria Duval, this woman is terrible news. I learned she had just concluded her 3rd divorce around 6 months ago. All of her marriages have ended due to adultery. She cheated on all of her marriages and even became pregnant with one of her lovers." He said, "Here's the kicker, document. She persuades another woman to cheat with her. She recruits a colleague by telling her how wonderful the sex is and how they can cover for one another. If the other woman is hesitant, she explains that she needs a wingwoman since the man she is interested in has a sibling, friend, boss, and so on, and she wants her to keep them company. She adds that there is nothing wrong with having a drink, conversing, and dancing. Men always pay for drinks and dinner. Plan it as a free evening out. Of course, she tells the guy to lay on the charm and show her the moves while they're dancing. The guy flatters her and promises to bring her a rose or some chocolate. Andy stated that once they have the other woman on the hook, these guys go all out for her. Maria then persuades her to go out for a spa weekend on her behalf, despite the fact that the men are paying for rooms at a hotel at least 100 miles away. He went on, "This so-called spa weekend is nothing more than a 2-day duck festival. She was caught by her first husband when she attempted to seduce one of his clients, whom she had never met. However, the client recognized her face from a photograph her husband kept on his desk when they met in his office for business, and he explained. So this guy hired an investigator to follow her and discovered she was meeting with a female colleague from her office and 2 male companions when the phony spa weekend came up. The detective discovered when and where the connection was taking place by meeting with Maria's partner, getting him intoxicated, stroking his ego, and questioning how he could get involved in such a scheme. My coworker claimed that the imbecile couldn't stop bragging about being a Lothario. He explained the entire setup down to the town and motel they were staying. The investigator offered a bribe to allocate a certain set of adjoining rooms that had been reserved by them. He informed the hotel desk clerk that his employer had asked him to ensure that these precise rooms were available, as well as cold champagne with 4 glasses and chocolate-covered strawberries in each room. He went on to say that he had his staff call and request these rooms on Thursday, the night before they installed hidden cameras and listening devices on Friday, and that he had one of the investigators go into another room and set up the recording device while watching and listening in on the two couples' activities. Furthermore, he claims that based on what a coworker informed him, the video could compete with any sleazy film on the market. The first husband passed on the information to the second woman's spouse. When her ex-husband discovered she was remarrying, he destroyed 2 marriages. He met with him and filled him in. The second spouse admitted to the investigator that he was doubtful and thought the ex was a disgruntled loser. However, once they married, the pattern began to develop, as spelled out by the ex-husband. It was the same with husband number 3, and they all engaged the same investigator. My colleague recommended Marie Duval for business. I sat there astonished, feeling no. I took a drink of the bourbon and enjoyed the burn as I drank, savoring the flavor of the wood tenders from the barrels in which it was aged. Andy then handed me the second envelope. This gloomy was what I saw during Marie Duval and your wife's daily lunch talks. As you can see from the photos, they are constantly accompanied by 2 male companions. Andy dug into his case, pulled out a flash drive, and handed it to me. Say, Doc, on this flash drive, I have recordings from the listening device you installed in her bag. You'll hear the guy sitting next to your wife lay it on heavy. She has rejected the most of his suggestive overtures, but when he places his hand on her hurt or knee, she does not move it away. He stated that 2 days before, Marie mentioned the spa weekend and how wonderful it would be to get away and have dinners, drinks, and hotels paid for by the guys. Earlier today, I overheard Marie inviting your wife to join her for a spa weekend this weekend. She did not say nay. In fact, she indicated she needed to gather up the guts to ask you, or more specifically, tell you she is leaving. She informed Marie that she needed to soften you up since you had a family weekend planned, and she would have to beg off. Andy continued, she intends to send the children to her parents' place tomorrow evening. She will surprise you by bringing you out to dinner and then rocking your world in bed while giving you a post-coital massage. She'll strike you with it before you fall asleep. She believes you will agree to her request because you know how hard she works and deserve to be treated. Finally, Andy stated that she plans to inform you that it will allow you to spend quality time with the children, something you don't get to do very often. Doc, that is it. It's all on a flash drive. I felt like I had been smacked in the eyes with a lead pipe. I had to recover and control my emotions before I could respond. I regained my composure and thanked Andy for the detailed and enlightening report. He sadly said, "I'm sorry, Doug." I reached into my desk drawer and placed $300 to $100 in my right palm. I reached out to shake hands, and when he gripped mine, I handed him the dollars. Doc, this is unnecessary. I really stated, Andy, you did an excellent job here. And if she decides to go ahead with this spa weekend, I'll need you to subcontract it to your guy at the hotel. I'll deal with you, and you pay him extra 20% for yourself. Have Kali give you whatever he collects and deliver it to me. Okay, fair enough. Andy stated more than fair. I advised him to take this and take his wife out to a nice meal. Buy your children some pizza and take her to the movies, an entertainment park, or whatever. Reconnect with your family. Then I dug into my pocket, took out 2 additional notes, and with begging eyes said, "Here, take these, please." Andy shook his head as if to say no before saying, "Way too generous." "I responded, I insist. It will make me very happy to know that your family is having fun together. Besides, it was the money I laid aside for my wife's anniversary gift, and I won't need it now." He responded, "Thanks, Doc. I'm there for everything you need." No questions were asked. I said, "Thank you, Andy. My buddies call me Hank. He told me to have a nice evening, Hank. Please keep me in the loop. If you need someone to talk to or a drinking buddy, please phone me." I unlocked the door to let Andy escape. I returned to my office, sank on the sofa, and let the tears fall. I regained my composure after crying out. Then I called Mallory and went home. The next evening's update was as Andy had planned. Mallory was dressed in an LBD with a diamond pendant I gave her for our last anniversary, paired with CFM heels. I could see she had her hair done, and her makeup was well applied. She was sexy and gorgeous. I said, "Honey, you look stunning." And I'm like, "What did Elaine do to your hair?" She answered, "Thank you for noticing, babe." I responded, "Honey, I could pick you out of a crowd of thousands. You are gorgeous, and my one and only girlfriend." I could tell my comment had struck a nerve. She changed the subject, mentioning that I had made reservations for dinner at Poisson's Boeuf Pork at 7 p.m. "If you wish to freshen up, you must act quickly. This is my favorite French restaurant." When we got at our seat, I asked the waiter to fetch me a cocktail. While I waited for our meal to arrive, I drank some bourbon straight from the bar. I ordered a bottle of Domaine Applied Dumont Show 2015, a Burgundian Pinot Noir from the summer. By the time I finished my bourbon, the wine had had a chance to breathe before he brought it to our table. I tasted it and gave him the go-ahead to pour a glass for each of us. Dinner arrived, and I adored my filet mignonette. Cue to Hallmark, where Rice, Pillar, and Mallory had the Hotel de Croûte, 2 herbs with palms for tearing roti. I had cheesecake with raspberry coulis and café du Chambord for dessert. Mallory had cream brulee and café. I questioned Mallory, what prompted all this? She said, "I thought we needed a romantic night and some time alone." "I simply wanted to pamper you, sweetie." Mallory drove since I had been drinking, and she wondered why I was drinking so much because it was unusual for me, especially because I never know when I would be called in for an emergency while I am on call. I told her Lorna was covering the on-call because she wanted the weekend off, and Dave agreed to take it, so I'm on call tomorrow night. The bourbon tasted delicious, and considering the joyful tenor of the event, I indulged just a little. She said, "I'm going to indulge a little bit when we get home." I kept reminding myself that she hadn't cheated yet, so I could enjoy the main event without tipping my hand. I resolved to compartmentalize everything I knew and enjoy what could be my last personal moment with my wife. We walked through the door into the living room. Mallory flung her arms around me and gave me a deep French kiss. When we broke the kiss start date, when we completed, she got up and went to the bathroom to shower. While I waited my turn in the shower, I realized there was no affection, no gentle lovemaking. It was more of a one-night stand. Mal exits the bathroom wearing her robe and a towel wrapped around her wet hair. Her shampoo had a strawberry aroma to it. She added, "I'm going down and get us some drinks, including a glass of Chardonnay." "What will you have?" I responded, 2 fingers of bourbon." "Neat. I will be down after my shower." Given our usual bedroom routine, the sex tonight felt weird. I went into the bathroom, turned in the shower, and grabbed a new towel from the linen closet. I slipped into the comforting warmth of the hot water jet streaming down my body. I threw the towel in the waste, combed my hair, and went into my bedroom to get dressed. I finished dressing and headed downstairs. Mal was seated in the love seat, drinking her wine while my whiskey was waiting for me on the coffee table. Mal and I sat together on the love seat. We sat quietly pondering on what had just happened. I could see her working out a plan in her head, and once she was satisfied with it, she started talking. She said, "Hank, you should have asked my permission before doing that." I replied with a perplexed look. "What you're referring to, my dear?" She stammered somewhat, stating, my. But I responded, "I thought you enjoyed it." She responded, "Not really. It stung rather than felt nice." I inquired if I needed to examine you. She said, "No, it is mild, and I don't want you anywhere near my ears for a long time. In fact, I'm a little annoyed with you right now. Your stupid prank ruined an otherwise wonderful evening." I thought to myself, I just set up a real softball. And now it's time for her to drop the hammer. Her intention was to exploit our relationship as an excuse to go on this spa weekend. I bet she'll say I owe it to her to make amends for the grief I caused her tonight. "Here it comes," Mel began. "I was going to turn this down." I inquired as to what you were turning down, she responded. "Well, Marie Duval invited me to join her for a spa weekend this coming weekend. I planned to beg off because we were due to take the kids to the water park. Now I'm upset at you, and I think I'll take her up on her offer. I believe you owe me a chance for some relaxation and pampering after tonight." I must be psychic. I responded, "What the hell, Mallory? You're going to ignore your husband and children just to lie down at a spa, especially considering how long the kids have been waiting and how happy they are to go." "Henry, I made up my mind. I'm heading to the spa." This would also provide you adequate opportunity to spend quality time with our children. I know Bobby and Gina will enjoy it. She ran up the gut with a play straight out of the Cheetah's playbook. My God, I told her sternly. Mallory, you can do the spa excursion another time. We have family plans and I do not want you to go. She was starting to become angry and seething. She inquired, Do you mean you are forbidding me from going? I responded tersely. Mallory, please, McAllister, I have never and will never try to stop you from doing something. And you know it. You are a conscious human being with free will and choice. You can do whatever you want. Just remember this. There may be unfavorable outcomes, she said. Do you intend to frighten me by threatening me with consequences? Do not even try it. I want to deal with it. You can stay in the guest room tonight. Mallory, I said screw you. I get so little time off, and all I wanted was to spend this weekend with my family. The weekend plans were made 7 months ago. I guess asking you to keep that promise and spend some time with me and the kids is too much to ask of you. Fine, go on. Your treasured spa day, last update. I turned and climbed the stairs. I walked into the master bedroom and took out my clothing, shoes, and toiletries for the next few days and moved them to the guest bedroom. I hung up my suit, dropped my shoes on the floor, then closed and locked the door. I heard Mallory try to open the door. After failing at that, she responded, Come on, Hank. Locking the door. My voice betrayed my wrath. Say you were the one who kicked me out of my own room. You are banning me from sleeping in my own bed. So deal with it. Throwing her own comments back at her gave me some gratification. I responded, I am done talking and you've made your point extremely clear. I'm exhausted and need to sleep. Good night. Although I knew it would be far from ideal for both of us. I waited a few minutes before going down the stairs. I entered my home office and retrieved the paperwork from my briefcase. I have 2 days to sort through all of this information so that I may best plan my future steps. Part 2, if you haven't seen part 1 of this story, check the top comment or description. There is a link. I removed Andy's report from the envelope and started reading. It appears that the 2 guys dining with Marie and Mallory are senior executives from Mallory's organization. James and Kenner, the son of the firm's founder, are seated alongside Marie. He is a senior salesman who works in the sales department. Derek Kaczynski is the man photographed sitting next to Mallory. He is the sales manager. And Jameson's employer, Koplinski, is 30 years old. Andy's investigators believe it is around 6 feet and 200 pounds. He's got sandy hair and blue eyes. He is married and has 2 children, Kelly and 2 boys. Sam and Jameson is 27 years old, 5 feet 10 inches tall, and weighs approximately 185 pounds. He has dark hair and brown eyes. Jameson is married, and his wife, Devereaux, is pregnant with their first child. While Koplinski is legally his employer, it is common knowledge in the sales department that Jameson exploits the threat of his father's anger to control Cohen's side. Perhaps Koplinski is a reluctant participant, but the report indicates that he is more than just interested in my wife. I discovered that on the day I went in to take Mallory to lunch, they were at the restaurant with Marie waiting for her. I connected the flash drive to my laptop, plugged up my headphones, and opened the file. I started listening to audio tapes while listening to audio. I started looking through the images. The investigator was able to view the images. I meet Marie Duval, the cancer of my marriage, for the first time. According to the article, she stands 5 feet 5 and weighs approximately 130 pounds. The photographs show that she has dark black hair and brown eyes. In the images, she is all over Jameson, kissing him and holding hands above the table. And thanks to the small cameras positioned under the table, I can see Jameson's hand up Marie's skirt most of the time. The investigator had bribed the hostess to keep them at the same table whenever they came for lunch. They were only activated once Mallory and the crew were seated. The first meal was innocent enough, but by the second lunch, Marie had brought James and Quincy with her. Marie, Jameson, and Kaczynski wore Mallory down over the course of 30 lunches in the last 6 weeks. Cohen's skis, seemingly harmless and inadvertent touches, were all up when Mallory left for the restroom. Marie may be heard asking Collins to ramp it up the next day, set for tomorrow, accidentally touch against her breast, reaching across the table for something. She said, "What?" Keep telling her how great the sex is with James. As Mallory returns from the restroom, Jameson can be heard saying, "Hey, all of them," with a suppressed chuckle. Marie, Jameson, and Kaczynski kept up the seduction. The brush became touches, which lingered until my wife allowed his hand to remain on her and feel her thighs beneath her skirt. The photographs do not show whether it progressed farther. The audio captures the sexual innuendo that was present at each lunch. I saw images of Collins kissing Mallory on the cheek, followed by a gentle peck on the lips as they left the restaurant. One of the last images taken yesterday showed Marie kissing Jameson, while another showed my wife kissing Kaczynski. Now I'm wondering if her agitation was caused by whatever she'd done with Collins earlier that day, as well as what she planned to do over the weekend. I viewed the investigators' footage, which revealed additional gory details about their activities. Do it, do it, do it. I turned it off because I couldn't handle anymore. The rage and hurt I was feeling were overwhelming. If I could have grabbed Collins, I would have hit him with my bare hands. Fortunately, I cooled myself and began to think sensibly about what my next step would be. According to what I had observed, she had cheated on me with another man. Yes, she was targeted by Marie Duval and her accomplices. Yes, she was seduced. She could have resisted, though. She could have walked away, ceased attending these meals, or demanded that Marie come alone. So she decided to allow this seduction to take place. She accepted his approaches without much opposition. Finally, it is clear that she has agreed to leave with this man. She plans to sleep with him. Who knows what Marie Duval has planned for her? They may interchange men or form a foursome. What I do know is that if she goes on this spa weekend, it will be the end of our marriage. I can forgive what has happened up to this point, but I will never forgive or forget if she continues with this disaster. The repercussions include 3 destroyed marriages and families, as well as a wounded spouse, not to mention breaking the hearts of 2 beautiful, innocent youngsters. I don't care if it hurts those 2 as much as it does me, but I don't enjoy watching other innocent people suffer as a result of this huge plot. I will not purposely aim to ruin their life, but they may not be able to get out of this alive. The guilt she will feel when our parents, friends, neighbors, pastor, as well as her colleagues and coworkers learn about this. How will my coworkers, employees, and patients respond? The destruction will be severe and extensive. Update. Fortunately, as a doctor, I learned to stay alert and functional while being sleep-deprived during my internship. So I groaned a little as I got up and noticed the morning sun coming through the window. I went to the guest bathroom to relieve myself. I washed my teeth and shaved before showering. The hot water jets served to invigorate me. I got out of the shower dressed and was looking forward to meeting Bobby and Jean. I missed them already. I decided to drink my coffee on my way to the office. I stopped into a local coffee shop and ordered a double espresso cappuccino, a bacon and egg breakfast sandwich, and a cheese Danish. I got at the office around 45 minutes before everyone else started arriving for work. I started by making a list of what I needed to do: open a new personal account at a new bank, transfer funds into that account, go to another bank, cash out my retirement account, and store the funds in the safety deposit box until I could deposit them in my Belize account. Then I need to get a divorce attorney and meet with them, my account, cancel my joint credit cards, pack and move my belongings from the house, and hunt for an apartment to rent. So far, there is a lengthy list, and I am confident that more will be added. No matter what happens this weekend, I have to be there for Bobby and Gina. I need to make my trip to the water park as fun and memorable as possible. Then I picked up the phone and phoned Andy's cell number. After 3 or 4 rings, Andy answered and replied, "What's up, Doc?" I laughed as I recalled Bugs Bunny's legendary answer. I responded, "Hello, Andy." That was extremely humorous. He responded, "Seriously, Hank, what can I do for you?" I said, "Andy, I need your help preparing for the weekend. I'll do my best to persuade her not to leave, but she has plans. I need to be ready just in case." Andy responded, "I'll get things set. Good luck." I said, "Thank you, Andy. Goodbye." He responded, "Bye, Hank." I considered myself fortunate to have made such a devoted and useful friend as Andy. Alice stepped in a minute later and said, "Hank, I'll start the coffee. May I bring you a cup?" I spoke tiredly. Yes, Alice, it would be wonderful. She said, thank you for offering. You are welcome, Hank. When Alice returned with a steaming mug of coffee, I said, thank you, Alice. I need you to notify David and Lee, Michelle, Joanne, Julie, and Marcus that I need to hold an emergency staff meeting as soon as the final patient leaves. Alice said, Dr. Hank, is there something wrong? You normally schedule staff meetings in advance. Yes, Alice, there is something wrong, but it is personal, not professional, and has nothing to do with the office. However, it may have an impact on the office in the near future. I'll go into more detail this evening, but please don't give out any other information other than that there will be a meeting. Alice spoke. Okay, Hank, I hope this isn't serious. I said, don't worry. She said, you have a monthly patient care meeting with David and Lena, and your first appointment is set for 9 a.m. She then closed the office door as she left. Dave and Lena attended the meeting, and we discussed the care plans for each of our patients. I have these meetings so that we are all aware of each other's patients and care plans when we cover for one another. This allows us to give the finest possible care while being interchangeable with one another's practices. After we completed reviewing patient care plans, I added, hey, guys, I have one more thing to discuss with you. Dave spoke up. Okay, Hank, go ahead. I shared everything about my doubts and how my marriage might end. Lena said, Hank, that's really tough. You and Mallory look so good together. I agreed. I thought the same. I told them I'd need their help to cover for me for the next few weeks, starting tomorrow to sort some things out. David said, Hank, we're here for you, whatever you need. Lena said, take the time you need. David and I will handle things. David added, so this is why we're meeting, huh? I said, yes, I have to keep this quiet for obvious reasons, and I need everyone's help here. I trusted everyone to keep this a secret, so my absence wouldn't cause whispers. Everyone here should know the truth. Lena said, you're right. On behalf of David and everyone else, you can count on us. David nodded. I thanked them and said, all right, let's get to work. We have patients waiting. It was a long day because I was so tired. After the staff meeting, I needed sleep. There was a Girl Scout meeting tonight, but I didn't want to see Mallory. I was too tired anyway. I called our friend Lisa Rosenberg. Her daughter Sarah is in the troop, and I asked her, could you help Mallory with a troop meeting tonight? I've got to meet with the accountant for our practice, so I can't make it. Lisa said, sure, Hank. Joe and I are free, and you do so much for the kids. Happy to help. I said, thanks, Lisa. I owe you one. She said, not at all. We owe you. But I hung up grateful for friends like Joe and Lisa. I hope they'll still be there after all this is out. I wasn't lying. I did have a meeting with Arthur Adams, my accountant. Now it was time for the staff meeting, so I want to find my team waiting in the usual spot. I walked in. You must be wondering why we're here. I need your help. I've got some personal issues and need some time off. How long? I'll know by Monday, but for now, I'll be off for the rest of the week. I added, if I need more time, David and Linda will cover for me and Michelle. I need you to see more patients to help out David and Lisa, if that's okay. Michelle said, of course, Dr. Hank. Whatever you need. I said, thanks, Michelle. I know this adds to your work. If I need to take a long break, I'll give each of you a $3,000 bonus from my own pocket. It looks like Mallory and I might divorce. Everyone was shocked. I continued, I'm sharing this in confidence and asking you to keep it secret for now. I need to stay ahead and Mallory doesn't know I'm aware of her plans. Alice asked, weren't you going to the water park this weekend? I said that was the plan, but Mallory is going to a spa instead with some work friends. This isn't a company event. Her friend and she have been planning this, and they've been getting closer at lunches, even kissing. I have proof. I hope to avoid embarrassing her and had a slim hope of stopping her from going. So far, it's serious, but not beyond repair. If she stops now, I could still forgive and move past it. The room was silent. Julie said quietly, I'm sorry, Dr. Hank. I said, no need to say sorry, Julie. It feels unreal to me, too. Please wait until Tuesday latest. I'll try to make her see it's not good for us. She needs to want to stay, not feel forced. That's it. Thanks for everything, now and always. Go be with your families. It felt like we were all stunned. I grabbed my coat, picked up my stuff, and headed out. Update 1. When I got to Art's place, the door was open. He called. "Hello, Hank. Cool mean. Your call sounded like big news." I thanked him for staying and shared. It was personal, not business. I explained what I was going through and my thoughts on sorting out my finances. Art warned Hank, doing that could be tricky with a divorce coming. "I'm not a legal expert, so it's best you talk to a lawyer about divorce before doing anything big. You might get in trouble for hiding money. I'll chat with my lawyer about safe ways to keep your money safe if you split. I suggest grabbing all your bank info, too." I said, "Thanks, Art." I swung by Canelo's Bar and Grill and had one of their top-notch burgers, fries, and a cold beer. I watched the cook make my burger from fresh meat and grill it just right. It was great. If it's not famous worldwide, it should be. Then I decided to watch a movie. I picked a Tom Cruise action movie, not really caring what it was about. Just wanted to pass time. Not really for fun. In fact, I slept through the start and woke up to the loud ending music. I left the cinema feeling sleepy. I got home at 11 p.m., saw Mallory wasn't happy. I told her, "Mallory, you didn't have to wait, you've got work early." She asked where I'd been. It was clear she was upset. I explained I'd left her a message about seeing Aunt Adams after work and sorted things for her meeting so she wouldn't be alone. Had a late meeting at work, then was stuck at Art's sorting stuff out. After all that, I grabbed a burger since it was late and I was really hungry. Work was crazy today, and I hardly got a lunch break. I saw she was upset about the lunch comment. She said I should have called. I told her I left messages. Why no reply? I checked my messages after ordering, and by then I thought you'd be asleep. She seemed less mad and said she was worried. I said, "All's good, let's go to bed. Good night." She went upstairs and I checked on the kids, feeling sad they might soon face a tough time. I went to the guest room instead of ours. Mallory came in asking why. I reminded her she kicked me out last night. After a rough night's sleep, I got my finances and evidence on a drive and met my lawyer Steve at 9 a.m. He's not a divorce lawyer, but recommended Paul Bronson as the best. Steve called him, and Paul was free at noon to meet. Steve asked if noon was okay. I agreed. I said hello, Paul, on the phone, and we decided to meet for lunch at the Oak Room at noon to talk. I thanked Steve and paid him. Then I made a lunch booking and went to open a new bank account. Off to see Paul next. I got to the restaurant early and tipped Bruce to show Paul to me. Paul came on time, we ordered food, and I told him everything. I shared how my wife plans to cheat this weekend with someone from work and 2 others. I said I'd try to stop her from going on her spa weekend. Paul listened close and asked, "What's your plan?" "If she goes ahead with it, I'm thinking of divorcing." I barely stopped short of telling her she can't go. I want her to choose to stay, but it has to be her real choice. I've told her how I feel, and things have been tense since she said she'd go. After our big fight, I've been in the guest room, I said. I dug into my pocket and pulled out 3 USB drives. This red one has proof from a detective, the blue one has all my money info, and the green one has the finances for my job. I explained. Paul took them and said, "Hank, I'll take your case. I need $5,000 up front." He went on, "I charge $1,400 an hour. I'm pricey, but I'm the best. If you change your mind, I'll keep $2,500 and give you back the rest." Fair. More than fair. You're hired. I'll send a check after lunch. I replied. We ate our steaks. After lunch, Paul said he had another meeting. "Call me tomorrow afternoon, and I'll tell you what to expect if we move forward." I thanked him and arranged for my bank to send the check. I checked in with Alice at work to make sure all was well. "Don't worry, boss, we're handling things here," Alice said. Relieved, I focused on my next steps. Mallory was leaving for a trip tomorrow. Tonight, I had to calmly explain the stakes of her choice. Paul called about the kids. "Bobby is 9 and Gina is 8, I told him. "In terms of custody?" he asked. I wanted them with me, but knew the courts often favored mothers. Paul thought joint custody was likely, explaining the financial splits and potential for no alimony due to Mallory's job. I won't fight her on custody unless I have to, I said. Understood. I can start the paperwork and have it ready by Monday, Paul offered, adding it could be stopped any time. This gave me some peace. Thanks, Paul. Goodbye. Now it was time to see if our family could withstand this. I parked and tried to calm down before facing Mallory. She greeted me warmly, which felt off since it was too quiet without the kids. She explained she'd sent them to her parents for the night. Dinner was ready, but it felt like she was trying to smooth things over about her trip. A month ago, I wouldn't have doubted Mallory's sweetness. Now I wasn't sure what to believe. I couldn't think of doubting her or thinking she'd lie. The idea of her breaking our marriage vows and being unfaithful was too much. I had to shove that anger aside and keep it under wraps. I needed to stay calm a bit longer. I went back down and Mallory had dinner ready. She said, "Dinner's on, love. Can you grab the wine?" I picked a good white wine for the chicken. I opened it and poured her a full glass and half for me. She saw and asked, "Is that all you're drinking?" I replied, "Yeah, my stomach's a bit off. Don't want to make it worse with too much drink." We ate and chatted lightly. After dinner and coffee, I helped clean up. We then relaxed in the living room. She sat next to me and broke the silence. "Hank, I don't want us to argue about this weekend anymore. I just need some time away from it all." I stayed quiet, making her uneasy. I finally said, "Mallory, it's not that you don't deserve a break. It's about canceling our family weekend last minute. We all were excited for it. You can go, just not this weekend." She couldn't meet my gaze and after a bit said softly, "So you're saying I can't go?" I made her look at me. "No, I'm saying our family should come first, but it's your call." She looked sad and tried to keep calm. "I'll tell Marie you want me to stay, that I can't go with her." I kept cool. I never demanded anything. "I'm just sad you're choosing this over family time." I stressed it was her choice and I'd rather she decides happily. Our kids don't deserve anyone being upset. And remember, I work hard too, but family comes first to me. If you choose the spa, I won't like it, but it's your choice. Whatever happens, I'll focus on making it fun for the kids. It's up to you now, but I'm done talking and being mad. Mallory seemed to think hard. I asked if the kids' stuff was ready for the weekend. She already packed for the spa. Now I was really mad. Why talk about it if you already decided? I said and headed upstairs. She asked if she should pack for me. "No need. You're all set, and I should too." She sat there crying as I got her stuff ready. The fight left me feeling like I was falling, heading for a big hurt. My family might break apart. In the shower, I cried a lot. Thankful the water hid the noise. After crying, I got into my pajamas. I put some eye drops in to relieve the redness and crawled into bed. Mallory was still downstairs. After a while, she got up, changed into her nightgown, and went to bed. Before I rolled over, I quietly inquired, "Will you be home to see the kids off? Are you leaving the office?" She said, "I'm leaving the office." I said, "Okay." Then I laid over with my back to her as if I was sleeping. I heard her go into the bathroom and cry. She called Murray Duval and put the phone on speaker. I moved up to the door and listened through the crack. She informed Murray that things did not go as planned and that they did not go well at all. Murray advised, "Don't let your husband's bad attitude bother you. He would assume that he wants his wife to be happy. Don't worry about that right now. You will be happy shortly." That beat chills her mouth. My name for her. Mallory recognized me. And until I gave her that pet name, she was always known as Mallory to everyone, even her family. It was at that point that I realized the actual extent of her betrayal and soul-crushing suffering. I silently went to the wardrobe and took out a suit, tie, and socks, as well as my casual clothing for tomorrow's trip. I brought them to the guest bedroom and went to bed. I was shocked she didn't come to look for me. I lay there, but sleep did not come easily, nor did it prove to be very restful. I got up early, dressed, and left before Mallory woke up. I parked my car with all of our baggage so I wouldn't have to go back home. Update 4. I opened the garage door and backed out onto the driveway, then onto the street. I contacted Andy and invited him to join me for breakfast at Trudy's at 8 a.m. He assured me he would be there. I called Alice and informed her that if Mallory called, I would be unavailable for the remainder of the day due to an emergency procedure. As I was coming into Trudy's, I heard my phone ring and left it on voicemail. I went inside and ordered a cup of coffee while I waited for Andy. I checked Mallory's message. She asked Hank, "Why did you sleep in the guest room? You were in bed when I got up to use the restroom. Why did you depart without saying goodbye? And how come you didn't answer the phone? I love you, and I wish you loved me enough to give me a weekend without all of the negativity. I pledge to return refreshed and stronger. Kindly call me." A minute later, another message was left, and this time Mallory said, "I apologize, Hank. I didn't realize you had to get surgery. Alice said you realized it could have to happen last night. I understand why you did what you did. I am sorry I missed you this morning. I'll phone you this evening from the spa. Love you." As I sat there, I was grateful I had the wisdom to start the divorce proceedings. I sat there, saddened by the demise of my marriage. I overheard, "Hello, Hank." I signaled for Andy to sit down. I said, "Hello, Andy. Let us order some breakfast." We both ordered a short stack of blueberry pancakes, sausage, and bacon, along with coffee and orange juice. As we waited for our lunch, I murmured to Andy, "She's leaving. So call your associate and tell them it's a go." Andy responded, "Sorry to hear that, Hank." I instructed him, "Just make sure I have enough evidence to humiliate them all." Andy remarked, "Hank, I understand how difficult it is not to be bitter and want vengeance. Try to remain cool while maintaining your dignity and self-worth. You're too fine a man to let this ruin you. You have to be strong for your children. Focus on them." I responded, "Thank you, Andy, I will. But all I want is the stuff for the nuclear option just in case. Who knows what whore Duval and seducer Kaplinsky have planned for my wife. He might want her to leave me for him. So here comes breakfast. Let us enjoy it," Andy said. "That sounds wonderful. I'll make the call and then we can eat." I called Paul Bronson to see if he'd filed the paperwork with the court. I contacted his receptionist who put me on hold. 15 minutes later, I heard, "Hello, Hank." I responded, "Hello, Paul. I'm just checking in to see where we are with the paperwork." "I'm getting ready to take my kids to the water park," Paul said. "I was just on my way to the clerk of the court's office to file the petition. So enjoy your weekend to the fullest. Concentrate on your children and enjoy this time together." I responded, "Yes, Paul, I will. You have a good weekend, too. Goodbye." I walked to the car and got my bag, which included my casual clothing and a couple clothes hangers. I then went into the restroom and quickly changed out of my suit into khaki tennis shoes and a t-shirt. I put on my sunglasses, grabbed my suit and luggage, and went to pick up Bobby and Gina. When I came inside Gunnar and Helga's house, Bobby and Gina were bouncing with joy. Gunnar welcomed me at the entrance and shook hands, as was his way. He said, "Hi, son. Good to see you." I responded, "It's good to see you too, Dad." Helga Hallstrom was a curvy woman with golden hair who failed to pass it down to her daughter. She entered from the kitchen and hugged me, saying, "Hank, it's good to see you again." I said, "Thank you, Mom. I'm sorry I don't come here more frequently." Bobby and Gina charged at me full force, each grasping a leg. Bobby asked, "Is it time to go, Daddy?" I responded, "In a minute, son." Helga stated, "I have lunch all prepared. You need to stay long enough to eat." I had intended to stop along the way, but I did not want to disappoint this wonderful, kind woman. So I promised her we wouldn't leave before lunchtime. Gunnar said Hank was Mallory. There was a pregnant gap before I mentioned that she is going away for the weekend with some business pals to a spa. Helga said she didn't mention it to me when she dropped the kids off. Why would she do it this weekend when you've been planning this trip for so long? What can I say? Your daughter is going to a hotel with another woman and 2 men, and she intends to cheat on me. That your daughter is an adulterous slut who intends to skip the whole weekend with Derek Kaplinsky. So I lied, claiming her buddy had won the weekend in a raffle, and it has to be utilized this weekend. I am sorry she did not tell you. It undoubtedly slipped her mind as she tried to prepare for both visits. Helga said, "Well, let us have lunch." I believe she should have declined and gone with you and the children. I responded, well, she works hard and said she needed some alone time to herself. We then went into the kitchen and sat at the dinner table as Helga brought us turkey sandwiches, homemade vegetable soup, and freshly prepared lemonade. Her soup is amazing of this world. In an effort to get moving, the children began wolfing down their meals. I responded, slow down and enjoy this delicious meal that Grandma worked so hard to prepare for us. Gina answered, yes, Daddy. We apologize, Grandma. It is very good. We finished our lunch and headed out to avoid traffic. I glanced at Gunnar and Helga, people I have always admired and grown to adore as if they were my own parents. It almost brought tears to my eyes because this could be the final time I named them Mom and Dad. And this will be the final time I am welcome at their home. I said, thank you for everything, Mom and Dad. I shook Gunnar's hand and hugged Helga. The children hugged and kissed their grandparents goodbye. I secured them all in the back seat, and as I backed out of the driveway, I noticed Gunnar and Helga standing on the sidewalk waving. I offered them a wave as I pulled away, trying to hold back tears. I had a 2-hour drive to our hotel, and all I could think about was how my life was about to implode, and I couldn't do anything about it. Fortunately, the kids were so engrossed in watching the SpongeBob cartoons I brought that they didn't notice the tears flowing down my face. Thank God for sunglasses. Update 5. We arrived at our hotel at 4 p.m., checked in at the counter, and received our room key. I got the kids comfortable and hauled our bags up to the room. The hotel featured a pool, and the children wanted to go swimming. I suggested we go to eat first. Then, if you have time, you can go swimming before bed. I asked them what they wanted to eat. Gina said pizza. Bobby stated, I want a cheeseburger. I suggested we compromise and eat a cheeseburger pizza. They both replied in unison, yay, Daddy, let us go. I get the kids down to the car and buckle them in. I looked on the internet and discovered a business that makes wood-fired pizzas, so I started my car and drove to Mario's. When we arrived inside and glanced at the menu, I discovered that you could order individual pizzas and that Mario was also served burgers. I told Gina she could buy an individual pizza and Bobby could order a cheeseburger here if you wish. Gina got an individual cheese pizza, Bobby requested a cheeseburger and fries, and I ordered milk for both of them. I ordered a barbecue bacon burger with fries and a Coke because I never drink and drive with my kids in the car. We ate, then returned to the motel. I got my trunks and the kids' bathing suits out. Gina changed in the bathroom while Bobby and I were in the main room. I escorted the kids down and watched them splash and swim at the shallow end of the pool. They made a few acquaintances, and I sat and talked with Audrey Thompson, the girl's mother. She appeared to be around 32 years old, with brunette hair, brown eyes, and a lovely face. She informed me that her husband was in their hotel, fatigued from a day of driving, and that they were also taking their daughters to the water park tomorrow. She inquired whether your wife was also present in the room. I'm looking forward to meeting her. I said, no, my wife went on a spa weekend with colleagues from her firm. She responded, you're a brave man taking 2 kids to the water park alone. If Jonathan couldn't be here, I would never try to manage my 2 daughters on my own. I told her I'm looking forward to meeting your hubby. Maybe we can all get together for brunch at the pancake house across the street. We're in room 118. Talk about it with your hubby, and if you want to go, phone me. I will be awake by 7 a.m. Audrey responded, I will call you either way. I discovered she worked as a pharmaceutical salesperson and informed her that I was a physician with a successful family practice. She told me that her domain covered my area and that she had stopped in several times, but it was usually crowded and impossible to see. I informed her that I normally schedule meetings with pharmaceutical reps on Thursdays and invited her to visit my receptionists. The name is Alice. I took out a business card and asked her for a pen, which she fetched from her purse. I stated on the reverse of the card that Miss Thompson had a standing appointment with me. I advised Audrey that she should phone Alice a couple days before her arrival so that I could plan a meeting with her. Audrey responded, why, thank you, Dr. McAllister. I am confident that we have drugs that you will want to prescribe, and I supply a generous amount of samples as well. I responded, Audrey, this is Hank, and I am confident we will be able to do business. It was almost dark, and we had a busy day ahead, so I told Bobby and Gina that it was time to leave. Bobby exclaimed, "Can't we stay a few more minutes, Dad?" "No, bien suarat. We all need a good night's sleep to be ready for the water park, so say your goodbyes and leave." They took a few minutes to say farewell to their lifelong friends, whom they had created in the same way as children do, in only a minute or two. I told Audrey that it was lovely to meet her. We went to the room, and I prepared the kids for bed. They were fatigued from their travels and swimming, so they immediately fell asleep. I looked for messages from Mallory after she said she would call, and there were none. I was learning to understand that she could ignore me for the weekend, but her children were receiving some weird that she would neglect to phone to check on their well-being or to say goodnight. Andy sent me a text. He wrote that everything is in place. I'm keeping an eye on her outside the door, and my colleague has a video camera in both rooms just in case. "I'll meet you at Trudy's on Tuesday at 9 a.m., I texted back. "Thank you, Andy. Please. Nothing happens until we meet. I have to hold it together for the kids." Perhaps it was the lack of sleep, the stress and anxiety I've been experiencing since that fateful day in her office, trying to keep it together among family, friends, and my children. I was quite exhausted. I charged my phone and spent the first night under the blankets. I was finally able to fall asleep peacefully after a long time. When our room phone rang, I was already getting the kids dressed. It was Audrey Thompson. "Good morning, Hank," I responded. "Good morning, Audrey," she said. "We'd like to meet you and your kids for breakfast in about 10 minutes. Jody and Sarah want to lunch with their buddies," I said. "That sounds wonderful. See you at 10. I informed the kids that Jody and Sarah would be joining us for breakfast, and I added 10 minutes, but only if you were dressed and ready. I've never seen them get ready that quickly. We arrived ahead of the Thompsons, just enough time to snag a table for everyone. I saw Jody and Sarah running toward the table, calling for Bobby and Gina. I then noticed Audrey approaching, accompanied by a pretty tall, good-looking young man with sandy blonde hair and approximately 6 feet, 195 pounds. He appeared to be tough and had most likely worked in some sort of physical labor. I rose up as they approached the table, and Audrey introduced them, saying, "Dr. Hank McAllister, this is Jonathan." "Hank, this is Jonathan, my husband." Jonathan extended his hand and replied, "Good to meet you, doctor." I extended my hand to embrace his strong handshake and said, "It's Hank, Jonathan, and it's a pleasure to meet you and your wonderful family. This is my son Bobby and daughter Gina. Children, say hello to Mr. Thompson." Gina said hello, and it was almost comical how my small man went out with his hand and said, "Mr. Thompson, it's nice to meet you." I could see Jonathan's grin as he stretched out to shake Bobby's hand. "The same applies here, Bobby." We all sat down. The 4 kids were seated together, talking about the water park and what sort of pancakes they were going to get. Jonathan said to me, "Hank, this is John. Audrey suggests that you throw some business her way." I could tell he was worried that I was making advances on his wife. I said, "Yes, I have a family practice and see quite a few patients per month. My partners and I are constantly on the search for new treatments for our patients. Our present rep has grown complacent, so we've been looking for a new rep, and they'll be pleased that I happened to run into your wife as a result of our children's quick friendship." That's when his 9-year-old son Jody spoke out saying, "But Dad, Bobby, and Gina are our best friends." He said, "That's great, sweetie." He appeared to be more relaxed. "Audrey is an attractive woman, but I would never cheat on Mallory, even given everything that has happened this week, and I would never break up another couple or damage a family. I like the Thompsons. They reminded me of ours just a few days ago." John mentioned that I am in my contract year and had recently started my own company, Thompson Construction. He continued, "For the time being, I need to work as part of the crew as well as do the bidding, ordering, supervising, and payroll, to name a few." Audrey claimed John works hard. "We put in a lot of long hours, but we know it will be worth it in the end." I replied, "I know how it is. When I first established my practice, I worked extremely long hours. I was and still am a surgeon at the local hospital. I left my surgical practice to work in family medicine for more consistent hours, but I was extremely busy before I could employ more staff and bring on other doctors. But as you point out, it is ultimately worthwhile. It's wonderful that you're making time to spend with your family. We ordered an 8-hour breakfast and made small chat. We decided that doing the water park rides together would be more enjoyable for the kids. We left and spent the day in the sun, watching the kids swim around and go up and down the various slides over and over. Update 6. By the end of the day, I'm not sure who was tired more, the kids or grown-ups. I sought for a family-friendly restaurant and invited the Thompsons to join us. Jody and Sarah were saying, "Please, Daddy, please." I could see John was concerned, and I'm guessing this place was a little out of his price range for the vacation. He had mentioned that he was beginning from scratch and had no genuine investment funds and that things were tight. He explained, "Unfortunately, Hank, we can only afford to go for one day, and I know it will break their little hearts. I am not looking forward to disappointing them." During a brief moment alone, I called a hotel and booked their accommodation for another night, followed by tickets for a second day at the park. I knew he was apprehensive, so I instantly said, "Dinner is on me." My way of thinking, our new buddies. John responded, "No, Hank, that's too generous." I told John that our kids would be sad if we couldn't dine together tonight. "I have been where you are now, and I would be delighted to share some of my accomplishments with you tonight, tongue-in-cheek." I added, "Besides, without my wife's shopping bill to deal with, I have plenty of money to spare." John and Audrey both laughed. John said, "How can I refuse in that case?" We had a lovely lunch. Then it was time to put the kids to bed. I stopped by a liquor store and purchased a 12-pack of beer, a styrofoam cooler, a bag of ice, and a bottle of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. I also bought a corkscrew and an affordable set of plastic wine glasses. I returned to the room, bathed the kids, changed them into pajamas, and eventually put them to bed. They were gone pretty instantly. I went over to Thompson's room and gently tapped on the door. Audrey responded, "Come in, Hank." I inquired, "Are the kids sleeping?" John walked over and announced, "They're out like a light." I told him I had some cool beer and wine chilling and encouraged them to come down by the pool. I needed to speak with them for a minute. I stated, "We can see the rooms from here." They agreed, and John helped me carry the glasses down to the pool. The pool is closed, but I spoke with the manager, and he agreed that we may sit at the poolside tables as long as we were quiet. I began by saying, "Guys, we've had a wonderful time with your family. So wonderful that we don't want it to stop tonight. So I've already paid for your stay for another night, but you all have tickets to the park tomorrow, and here's a $1.10 petrol card to bring you back home." John was about to object, so I responded, "Before you tell me, no, understand? I've been in your shoes where money is tight. You remind me so much of my family, and I realize how valuable these moments are. These are the times when you form enduring memories. Furthermore, the amount I paid for hotel tickets, petrol, and meals for all of us was less than what I spent in one evening at our country club." I said, "Look, I'm not bragging, and I don't see you as a charity case. Rather, it's my turn to pay it forward. And to be honest, I'm a little selfish because I appreciate the help with the kids. They'd be a handful if I were on my own." John responded, "Hank, I just can't accept. I don't want to let go of you, especially after you've already been so generous." I answered, "Look, Audrey will be doing business with my practice, and I am confident that once your business is up and running, you will pay it forward someday. This is not a handout. It's a gift for a young family that is hardworking and will soon be successful. Family is vital. Allow me to present this gift to you and your family." Audrey was weeping softly, and John was holding back tears. He responded, "Okay, Hank, thank you. Thank you very much." I responded, "That is settled. What about a cold one?" With that, John took a couple of beers from the cooler. I asked Audrey if she preferred red or white. She said, "If it's the same to you, how about a beer?" I said, "Be my guest." John hopped up and grabbed his wife a beer from the cooler. We sat and spoke for several hours before retiring. It was wonderful company and enjoyable chat as we planned our agenda for the following day. We scheduled our good evenings and agreed to meet for breakfast at 7 a.m. I went in and looked for any messages but found none. I texted Mallory to let her know that the kids are doing fine and having fun. I waited for her to respond, but she didn't. I think she was too preoccupied avoiding Kaplinsky to check her texts. I felt my fury build and told myself, "Duck her." I looked at my sleeping angels. I have to make sure they got through this. Then I undressed and went to bed, ready for the long day ahead. We got up and prepared for the day. The kids were sad because they thought their new pals would go. I replied, "Well, you'll see them at breakfast." Jean answered, "I'll miss seeing Sarah. She's my best friend in the entire world." We arrived at the pancake house and found the Thompsons waiting for us at a table. Bobby and Gina dashed to the table and sat down alongside Jody and Sarah. When I eventually arrived, I replied, "Good morning, John," and Audrey joined in. "Good morning, Hank." We placed our orders and the server delivered our coffee, milk, and juice. I gently nudged John to eventually tell the kids the good news. He said, "Kids, I know we are going to leave after breakfast." As John mentioned, audible groans could be heard from the peanut gallery. But let me finish. I learned out that we will be staying one more day. Now the groans have changed into shouts. I spoke up before John revealed the truth and said, "Yes, your father found out that he has a new job starting in 2 weeks that will allow him to stay." Wonderful news. The children all nodded in accord. Audrey represented Misty and John's ice cream. "Thank you." I offered him a tiny nod, indicating that he and his family are most welcome. Audrey was with the kids in the wave pool, so John and I had an opportunity to chat. He said, "Hank, I really wanted to tell them that we were able to stay thanks to your generosity." I responded, "Well, I wanted to give each of you a gift, and you should be the hero in their eyes." I added that John, my partners, and I have been discussing the construction of a new building to accommodate our growing practice. We've purchased a plot of land with lots of room for construction and parking. I informed him that I had discussed you and your firm with my partners, and we had all agreed that we wanted you to build our building. That is, assuming you are interested. John was stunned and simply bobbed his head up and down. I said, "Fantastic. Do you happen to know where Trudy's Cafe is on Round 11? John responded, "Ido." I instructed him to meet me at Trudy's on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. I'll bring blueprints with me, and we'll go over the site and stop in so you can meet my partners, John stated. "Hank, this is really overwhelming. To be honest, I believed you were trying to seduce my wife." I said I guessed, and while Audrey is a gorgeous woman, I would never do that to anyone. I believe that good marriages are holy and that families are the most valuable assets someone can have, John stated. "Hank, I really believe this, and I realized it within the first 5 minutes of meeting you. I'll be there at 8 a.m. with bells on." We all had another wonderful day at the water park. On the way home, we stopped for pasta, and John insisted on paying the bill. I told him, "Only if you let me leave the tip," he responded. Deal. The kids adored the spaghetti and meatballs. The kids were tired when we arrived at the hotel, much like the day before. I said, "John, let us meet at the pool after we pick up the kids." Settle. "Audrey, want some wine tonight?" She responded, "Yes, I'll have the Pinot Noir, please." I entered the room and opened the bottle of Pinot to let it breathe. I got the kids to shower in their pajamas and go to bed. I was waiting to see if they were sleeping comfortably when John and Audrey gently tapped on the door. John grabbed the cooler. I got the wine while Audrey carried the cups. When we arrived at the poolside table, I noticed a tiny charcuterie platter waiting for us. Audrey mentioned that I cooked us a small snack. I told her it looked great. I poured Audrey a glass of Pinot, and John and I finished the last of the beer. I told them I'm delighted we met. Our children get along well, and you have both become friends and prospective business collaborators, so I'm making a toast. Here is to the future. Final update. We had a wonderful evening, and John mentioned that we would be departing early the next morning before retiring, so I'll say our goodbyes. I added, "Let's plan to get together with our kids in the future." Andrew said, "Definitely." "Hank, I'm looking forward to meeting Mallory." John said he'd see you Tuesday morning. I added, "Take care." I went into the room to check on the kids. They were sound sleeping when I put my phone on the charger. I checked my messages again and found nothing from Mallory. I took the time to put out our clothes for the morning, and I packed our luggage. I took them down to the car and placed them in the trunk. I walked inside and showered. I placed my clothing in a laundry bag and set it out for our night clothes as I crawled into bed. I could feel the ominous storm clouds forming above, and I knew our lives were about to change. At worst, I felt powerless to stop it. Why did not I satisfy her? I did not feel inadequate in the bedroom. What is it with Colin? What does he have that I don't or cannot offer her? Hey listeners, thanks for tuning in to Whimsy Woven Stories. Like the video and drop a comment and hit subscribe for new audio stories every day.